What's up, New York Jet fans? Yesterday was the very first game the New York Jets played Week 1, Jets at San Francisco. It was a Monday night football game. I'm very excited that the season has started. Perhaps this is not the way I would have liked the season to start, but we're finally back. The NFL season's finally back, so I can't complain about that. So, just an overall picture, it was a 19-32 loss. The Jets kind of had some garbage time stuff that boosted their stats a little bit. Their record is now 0-1. Um, their I projected their record to be 0-1. It's the first week, so my prediction for this game is correct. Um, the 49ers, they are a Super Bowl hopeful team. I would say, well, the Jets are also a Super Bowl hopeful team, but like this is not an easy game by any means. I predicted the Jets would lose here. You're gonna take some losses, and this is one of the more obvious losses. Definitely, there was some bad news, but for the Jets, good news going into the game. Christian McCaffrey was out this game. Sorry to all the fantasy players who picked him number one overall. That actually includes myself in most of my leagues, but or in one of my leagues rather. But yeah, sorry to that. But CMC was out, which once again I don't hope for player injuries, but that was a good thing for the Jets. Definitely their number one weapon, but that did not make too big of a difference, I guess. Their backup running backs really did well. Debo ran a bunch, and he was also really effective in the passing game, and so that really didn't stifle their offensive attack, I guess. Right, that would have been big news, and if the Jets won this game, that's what we'd all be saying. Oh, it's because Christian McCaffrey was injured, but he was injured, and the Jets still lost, which is definitely a concern. But that was one of the big stories about this game specifically. But obviously about this season. This is now the first real season with Aaron Rodgers. He played the full game. I know I was worried and panicking once he hit 4 snaps, right? Which actually was a fumble by Brees Hall, so kind of a cursed snap count. But Aaron Rodgers made it through. He didn't get injured in this game, although he did not play the entire game. So let's talk about the offense. Um, it was Let's start with the positives, I guess. Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers connection looked really, really good. Um, Garrett Wilson, he threw to him a bunch, specifically Aaron Rodgers. If you look at the receiving stats, actually Alan Lazard ends up with more yardage. But I bet if you look at the Aaron Rodgers passing or receiving yards, it's actually Garrett Wilson who got the most. Alan Lazard kind of started doing some stuff in garbage time, but had an early drop early in the game, which was a little annoying. But he did end up with 2 touchdowns. But I think that stat is misleading. That was kind of garbage time stuff. If you actually look at it, the Garrett Wilson Aaron Rodgers connection looks really good. That's one positive. The other positive is Aaron Rodgers. He played the entire game, I guess. And the offensive line did not look terrible. Am I going to say the offensive line looked great? No, but this is against one of the better D lines. So they had a tough task and they looked serviceable in this game, which hopefully predicting the future against a not so good defensive line, the offensive line will be really good. All right, now that we got the positives out, Aaron Rodgers survived the entire game. Garrett Wilson still looks really good, and the offensive line was not a major concern. The negatives, unfortunately, Brees Hall, he kind of picked it up as the game went on, but he had a bad beginning of the game, we can say at least. Um, he was just struggling to run. Once again, I think that's mostly because the 49ers defense is so good, but if the Jets want to be a Super Bowl team, they have to be able to beat Super Bowl teams, and the 49ers was their first test, and Brees Hall, he kind of had a slow start. Um, Once again, pretty effective in the passing game, but definitely a slow start to the run game. So that was a major concern, and I think that kind of threw their entire offense out of whack. They were doing a bunch of tight end motions to then get the blocker ready for the running back, and it just was not working early on. And then obviously They were down by a lot, really couldn't score too many touchdowns, especially before garbage time. And Aaron Rodgers just kind of got benched, I guess. I don't know if he benched himself or what, but he kind of benched himself, I guess, or the team benched him, and they put in Tyrod Taylor, who, once again, during garbage time, I think the 49ers defense was playing a lot softer, and he was able to score a touchdown with Alan Lazard. Alan Lazard kind of turned it up in the end of the game. So maybe that's something, but I think that's mostly garbage time stuff. The 49ers defense is playing lighter. So the offense, Aaron Rodgers survived the entire game, but it left more to be desired. But also, I think we have to remember that this is Aaron Rodgers' first real game, right? If this happened last year, um, I think we'd all be saying, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers still needs time to gel and stuff like that." But since he's been here for a year already, we're kind of not thinking like that. But I think that's definitely still true. Aaron Rodgers needs time to gel. This was a really tough first game. The offense, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It didn't look good, but it's week one. Let's see what happens next week. Going to the defense, there are the stats you see. And once again, Christian McCaffrey being injured, I thought would have been a really big help. But then their backup running back just ran all over them for 100, almost 150 yards and a touchdown. Not good. Not good. The Jets defense is supposed to be an elite unit, and they are kind of getting diced up by Brock Purdy, who I think is an elite quarterback, right? But just watching the game, Brock Purdy kind of diced them up, and they got ran all over with a pretty bad with a backup running back, not even a starting running back. So that is definitely an issue. They have a bunch of drama with the defense, Hassan Reddick not being there. But the Jets defensive line didn't look amazing. They got ran over by a backup running back. That's never a good look. And then CJ Mosley and Sauce Gardner missed parts of the game. I think they're better, but I'm not entirely sure about that. But right, because you hope they're better because they have to play like 3 games in 11 days, which is kind of crazy um, to start out the season. But hopefully they're fully healthy and back and ready. But Sauce Gardner and CJ Mosley were out, and you missed them, right? When CJ Mosley got out, immediately the middle of the defense became wide open, or the middle of the field rather, because of the defense became wide open for Brock Purdy to dice him up. And then Sauce Gardner got out. Actually, their backup cornerback played pretty well, but obviously they're gonna once Sauce goes out, they're going to attack the backups, which I think they did. So not a great showing for the defense, just like not a great showing for the offense. I will say though, and here's an issue, I guess, more about the offense. There was a point in the game, I'm not sure if it held up true, where the Jets defense had 2 times the amount of snaps the Jets offense had, right? Typically the way you say that is the 49ers offense had 2 times the amount of snaps the Jets offense had, but we're talking about the Jets specifically here. So that's an issue, right? Because a common complaint, especially the Zach Wilson era, was all right, the Jets defense is really good, but their numbers don't say it exactly because they're on the field so much and they're getting tired. Well, Aaron Rodgers is here and they were on the field a lot. And I don't know if you can say they're tired in week one. I think you can, but right, they got tired. And I think that's an issue. So, something to look out for, I guess. The Jets defense was on the field for a lot of time, and that can make the defense look a lot worse than they actually are. And you thought that Aaron Rodgers, by him keeping the offense on the field for a lot longer, would fix that. And for week one, anyways, it didn't fix it. So, conclusions, takeaways. This is what I will say. I feel more optimistic about this season post week one than I did last year. Um, Even though this week was a loss and last year it was a win. The obvious answer for that is because Aaron Rodgers isn't injured, but I think that's true, and I think we need to remember that, right? It's week one. We all, as Jet fans, know from last year it's a long season, and although we lost, it's a better start to the season than it was last year. I would say the major concern going into this offseason rather, is the offensive line. And I can't complain about the offensive line. Did they do anything special? Like, did Brees Hall run for 200 yards? No. But they played a really good defensive line and they held up. So that's a good thing. And once again, just expanding that, they played a really good team And I don't know if they got destroyed, but they lost. They lost against a really good team, which is expected. So you can't complain too much. These next 3 games should be wins. I have them predicted all as wins. So that is crucial, right? Because the Jets actually last in their division because all the other AFC East teams won. So, but the next 3 games, Titans, Patriots, Broncos, even though 2 of those games, including the 49ers game, is in 11 days. Like they have the first 3 games are in 11 days, which is crazy. Not even 2 weeks. But besides that, these teams are very beatable teams. The Jets should win these 3 games, and I think it's very important that they do because their schedule is not so easy, and they lost a game they should have lost. But if they won this game, then they could lose a game that they shouldn't lose, but they could lose it. So I think it's very important for these next 3 games to win, and also the thing with that these 3 games being so close together, if you're gonna do it, you want to do that early on in the season, which the Jets are. It's just their first 3 games, so I guess that's the silver lining, I suppose. Yeah. So I hate to be negative week 1. I'm excited for the season to start, and I'm optimistic about this season. But it wasn't a great game. But once again, it's week 1 against a really hard team. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. How the Jets did, what you guys think about the rest of the season, and if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.